Hello and welcome to episode number 18 of the Tweedle Tweedle Run podcast, where Steph and I document our Run Disney adventures at both Disney World and Disneyland parks. I'm Court, and this is Steph.
Hello, and as always, you can interact with us on Instagram at tweedle or reach us out. Oh my goodness, reach out to us via email at tweedlerun@gmail.com. We are also on YouTube where you can like and subscribe that link, or you can find and listen to us on Spotify or Amazon Music. Uh, Check us out at Tweedle Run. On today's episode, we're taking a little bit of a detour from Disney and following up finally, because we've had some illnesses pass through,
Oh
on
my
Court's.
God. I've been so sick, Steph. I came
It's
home
true.
with the plague.
She did.
Ugh.
She came home from California with the Californian plague, but she's well enough now and she can talk to us all about her trip to Universal first.
Ooh, yeah. So we're going to deviate from Disney today and talk Universal for the first time. Yes, I couldn't talk, or if I tried to talk, I just basically would go into a coughing fit and was like, well, this is useful to no one who wants to listen to a podcast,
It's true.
listening to me cough for an hour straight. So apologies to our four listeners that you had to wait an extra couple weeks for this first installment, but
And we tried to be creative about it. We thought, could I interview the kids? And then we worried there'd be fighting. So we were like, well, I mean, we'll just wait it out because we're sure our four listeners would forgive us.
I know. I said to Steph, I was like, I don't know, how are your mediation skills? Do you think they're up to par enough to try and have an interview with both of my children? I think one at a time you would have been perfectly good, but
Probably, but there'd be a lot of staring, just staring at
yeah,
the camera.
it's so hard to tell how kids are going to react, like when they're on camera. Like if they're like my kids are both very chatty individuals and they will talk your ear off in person, but I never know how they're going to be if they're actually like on a video call. But anyways.
Exactly.
So yeah, so we went to California. The purpose of the trip was because my husband was competing in the World Masters Ultimate Championship. But obviously, while we were there, of course, we're going to do some parks. Where the actual championship was being held was 20 minutes asterisk with no traffic from Anaheim, and we will get to some of the discussions of traffic that is like, I mean, we live near Toronto, and Toronto has terrible traffic. And I have talked to people from the US who have come to visit and have said how awful, like that it is just a nightmare, Toronto traffic. And so I thought, okay, I mean, I've driven in Toronto. It's not great, but like, how bad can this Los Angeles traffic be? Oh my God, Steph. Like,
They call it the LA traffic jam for a reason, you know.
so my original plan was just to Uber everywhere, right? And I had done the cost analysis, and I was actually going to be cheaper to Uber everywhere than rent a car because the rental cars were just so expensive. And then literally a couple days before we were going to leave, I got this like offer through Air Canada, which is who we were flying with. It was like, "Oh, do you want to add on a rental car?" And the prices were so cheap. I was like, so I like looked into it and I'm like, yeah, no, I mean, if this is all you're going to charge me, it's going to be way cheaper to rent a car. And then I thought, oh, and then it's more flexibility. Like we can kind of, it'll be easier. We could go grocery shopping if we want because we'll have a car and, all the kind of logistic things just seemed easier. Oh my God, Steph. So the hotel that we chose to stay at the first night, because we were going to do Universal on the second day, we flew in on the Tuesday. Our plan was Universal on the Wednesday. Because we were doing this, I was like, well, we'll stay right by Universal, which is again, no traffic, like 20 minutes from the airport. Beautiful. So we were staying at the Hilton Los Angeles Universal City, which is one of the like kind of on property, I guess, if you
Sure.
will, hotels, because you can literally walk to Universal Studios from there. So we got our rental car. First, they tried to give us, oh my God, Steph, they tried to give us a Challenger. Hey, do you know what it's this massive boxy, it was only a two-door. I'm like, I have two children. No, I don't. Anyways, I went back to the desk and I was like, you have to give me a different car. I can't drive this car. I'm so glad I did though. Oh my God, because if I had to try and drive that giant like Mustang looking vehicle around Los Angeles, I would have lost my mind. But anyways, we got a rental car. It took us an hour. an hour, Steph, to get there. 20 minutes if there's no traffic, and it took us an hour. I couldn't believe. I was like, and actually, it originally even said it was going to take us longer than an hour. It said like an hour and 10 minutes initially, but then
Wow.
by the time we got the rental car and it's like a little bit later, like we, traffic was improving, I guess. And we didn't take the highways at all. It took us city streets like the whole way, which was kind of cool because then it's like you're driving down streets that like, oh, I've heard of this street before. And you're so I mean, that part was like kind of neat to kind of see some of the parts of Los Angeles, I
LA.
guess. Yeah. I still would have preferred to just not driven in traffic and not
Sure.
seen anything, but anyway, so we got in, that was fine. But by the time like we got there, because it took so long to get the rental car, to change the rental car, and then whatever. By the time we got in, it's like after 8 p.m. local time, so like 11 p.m. our time. And the kids were kind of hungry, but I was like, we're just going to bed, like because we could have gone to City Walk, which we talked about, but they said, oh yeah, it's about like a 10-minute walk. I'm like, we're not. It's 8 o'clock at night. Like I'm not up for this. I wasn't up for driving to go and find something. So, anyways, we just crashed, went to bed. That was fine. So I had thought I had thought we had breakfast at the hotel. And I'd made a note of this. So we were going to get up and have breakfast at the hotel. So it turns out I had, I guess, requested to have breakfast included. And they were too busy, and apparently my request was denied. So I
Oh
didn't get
no.
the quote unquote upgrade, I guess. I didn't realize it was like an upgrade request. I thought it was an upgrade that I just paid for. No, no. So we didn't have breakfast. So at like, I looked it up and there was a grocery store literally 3-minute drive away, and it opened at 5 a.m. So because I was up at like whatever, 4:30 or something, 4 a.m. I got up, got dressed, whatever, and I went to the grocery store when it opened, and just picked up groceries for us. And so then we just ate that in the room. Um, Again, we talked about maybe going to the Hollywood sign, but I was so like burned by this Hollywood or by this Los Angeles traffic from the night before. I was like, forget it. We're not going anywhere. I don't want to drive. I just will whatever. Just forego seeing that. So we just hung out in the room and got ready. I mean, the kids actually slept until like 6, like not
Which is
like
pretty good.
it wasn't too bad. Yeah, like they were still in bed, sort of just waking up when I got back from the grocery store. So anyway, so we just like took our time. Everyone, got ready, whatever. We had to pack up because we were driving to Anaheim later that night. So we packed up everything. Now, because we had the rental vehicle, it was kind of nice because we just were able to put all our stuff in the rental car
Yeah.
as opposed to having to leave it at like Bell Services type of thing. So that was one advantage to having the car because we had like all this food that I had bought. And so we didn't have to like, package it all up necessarily.
Find
But
somewhere to
anyways,
store it.
yeah, exactly. So it was super convenient, though, I will say, staying at the Hilton Los Angeles Universal City. I mean, we literally walked out. There's a staircase you go up, and then an overpass walkway that goes like over the road, and you're there. You're at Universal. Um, they have a security that you go through before you get there. There was nobody there. It was literally just us. We walked over. Um, we got to the park at 7:45 a.m., which I had mentioned the park opened at 10, but we had early entry at 9 a.m. into the um, Nintendo World.
Yep.
So, anyways, we went. So, and that's usually our plan, right? We usually try and get to the parks about an hour
Sure.
before opening because that's, you're late otherwise, right? So,
Was it necessary?
oh my God, it was not. It was not necessary at all. Spoiler alert, it was so dead. Oh my God, there was nobody at this park. It was fantastic. So anyway, so 7:45 we got there. We took some pictures like by the globe and in front, like on the red carpet, 'cause there's like nobody
Sure.
there but us. And just like a couple other people walked over to where they would scan us in, like to check that we had early entry. So the guy at 8 o'clock, they started checking people for early entry, and then they let you go, then line up like at the actual gates to get into the park. So they've just checked our early entry, but they haven't scanned us into the park yet. At 8:30, they started scanning everyone into the parks. So now we're scanned into the park and they walk us into the park. And then at some point they kind of stop us. And so we they kind of just keep doing that, right? So they just keep walking us into the park. And then so this park is built on a hill, and there's actually two levels. So there's the top level where you walk in and you get scanned into the park. And then where Super Nintendo World is actually on the lower lot, they call it. And you have to
Hmm.
take 4 escalators to get down
To
to
get
the
there.
lower lot. It's like the series of escalators. And it's so funny because so these people who are walking us in stand at the front of the escalator, and there is a staircase you can take, and there's somebody who's walking people down the staircase. And then at the bottom, everyone pauses, and then they walk to the next one. And then so it was very orderly, like it was
Now,
same
how
as
many people
Disney.
are like in these lines though if it's so dead? I'm picturing like
So
20.
no, it wasn't quite that dead. I mean, there was
Okay.
probably like 100 people sort of thing,
Okay.
like an
Yeah.
early entry, but which is
In Disney
nothing.
standards, nothing. Yeah.
Nothing, right? So anyway, so we all make it there. They walk us in. So at 9 a.m., we walked right onto Bowser's Challenge, which is their ride that they have in the Super Nintendo world, which the kids and I had done when we were in Japan, because they have the same world at the Osaka Universal. And so the kids already knew what it was and they were excited to ride it. My kids had the bands that we
Yep.
had bought in Japan, and they worked.
Okay,
So
because that was my
this,
next question because I knew that.
yeah, so we were told they would work, but so in the morning before we went to the parks, you scan the band into the app, and then each of my kids have a phone that they had brought. So then I got them to download the app onto their phones, and so then they could look up their stats like themselves
Hmm.
just in the app. And then they had the app to like walk around the park, or like if they needed to
Sure.
like look up a menu or something. So um I should also mention I joined the queue to be able to line up for Toadstool Cafe in the morning. There was like this, I had found where you could do it online, like you could do it on your phone. And so
Hmm.
first thing in the morning I went on and I picked trying to remember, I think I picked like a 4 o'clock return or something like that. So that I was like, okay, we'll go for dinner. We'll plan to like come back and eat here for
Sure.
dinner. So had my return time. Again, you join, it's like almost like a virtual queue. You have a
Hmm.
return time, and then you get to go line up, and then like I think it's sort of like a quick service where they seat you when they have space. So we did Bowser's Challenge, literally a walk on. Then we played the games. So they have a whole bunch of games that are really fun. Some of them all of us could play together. Some of them were like an individual game.
Hmm.
Some of the games just give you points, but other games you can collect keys, and you can see on each game there's like a little picture of a key. And if you collect 3 keys, because you win 3 of the key games, then you get to go and try and defeat Bowser Jr. in this like special level. And you can
Cool.
only do it if you have 3 keys, and they make you like scan your band, and like the keys will light up and it'll be like ping, ping, ping. And then like, if you have all 3, then you get to go in and play the game. Um, and so my kids both had a band, but I didn't have a band. So I was initially going to buy one, but the one guy said to us, because I didn't see where to buy them.
Hmm.
And I found out later there were like these vending machines on the wall that I guess, bought them through the vending machines. I was looking for like a kiosk.
Sure.
Um, and so the guy's like, well, you're allowed for this game at the end, you're allowed to have up to 3 people on one band go in.
Oh,
Yeah. So I assume because if you get a band for your kid, and I
you
guess if there's 2 parents or
well, and if the
something.
kid's a little kid, they can't go in by themselves, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can't be like, okay, well, only your 5-year-old can go in because you don't
Sure.
have a band. Yeah. So that was kind of neat. So I was able to play most of the games with them anyways, just because they would allow, well, both my kids had bands, so it was just like me as the extra person. So that was pretty fun. So we did that, defeated Bowser Jr. Kids were very
Nice.
excited. And then we just sort of walked around the land. In the app, there's all these like stickers you can win or earn for doing different things. Like if you find there's like little characters like hidden around the land. And so if you find them and scan your band, then you get like the badge saying that you found them.
Yep.
So of course Deacon was obsessed with like getting
Yeah,
every single, I'm like, dude, you can't even get all these badges. Like some of them are like visit during the months of January through March and you get this
sure.
badge. Well, like We're not gonna get that. So anyways,
But your children are collectors when it comes to these kind of things.
oh my God, I know they totally are. So and then at one point, so I should mention this. So early entry went until 10. So at like 9:50, I was like, hey guys, I know we're having a great time, but do we want to like leave, go ride some more rides? We can always come back later today, but the lines will be shortest in the morning. Turns out we didn't really probably need to do this, but as you will recall, I did not get the skip the line for this day. So
No,
we are with all the regular
the
folks,
peasants.
the peasants, standing in standby line. So I'm like, we got to make the most of our early
Hmm.
morning start. So, but during the morning, at one point I looked over and the Bowser challenge ride said it was only a 15-minute wait. And so I walked over to the guy, I said, do you think it's really a 15-minute wait? Or is it like, oh, the line is building, whatever? And he goes, well, if you look around to all the people who are in here, which, like I said, there was like maybe like 100 people sort of thing. He's like, this
Sure.
is it. This is all the people that are here for early morning entry. So yeah, it's basically a walk on. But the kids were too excited about collecting all the things. So they didn't want to ride it again right then.
Hmm.
So because I was like, this is a great chance to ride this ride that normally has like an hour plus wait.
Sure.
Yeah. So anyways, but so I said, okay, let's go. So at 9:50 we left and the Transformers ride is like right outside of the Super Nintendo world. Oh, we got pictures of the kids they have pipes outside of the Mario world so you can like stand behind them. It's like a photo op. So there was nobody there. So I was like, oh, let's take this picture. Because when we were in Japan, oh my God, there was like a
Oh
line of
yeah,
like 50 people every time you wanted to take a picture in these pipes. So I was like,
pipes.
never mind. I don't need the photo up that bad. Anyway, so we got it here. So we went and lined up for Transformers. Uh, the park opened at 10. Remember, we're in the lower lot, right? So
Hmm.
people have to take 4 escalators to get down to where we are. So we're lined up. At 9:57, they opened it. So they opened it slightly before the park even officially opened. And it was a literal walk on. There's like 12 people in line ahead of us sort of thing who had
Hmm.
started lining up already at that point. So literally a walk on. Kids loved it. They both thought it was a great ride. Neither one were scared. They really liked it. And then then the mummy ride is down there. Neither of the kids wanted to do the mummy ride. I was like, maybe, if they decide later in the day, we'll come back to it. And then the Jurassic Park was closed. The Jurassic World ride was closed for refurb, so we couldn't ride it,
Oh,
which
that's too bad.
I was bummed about because I really wanted to do
Sure.
that one. I definitely would have tried it. So basically we were done the lower lot because
There
the
was nothing
mummy
else.
they didn't want to ride, and yeah, we'd kind of done everything else. So we decided at that point to head up to the upper lot. So at 10:08 we were headed up the 4 escalators. Like it definitely factors into your touring strategy because it takes a while to get between the lower lot and the upper lot.
Yeah,
And I mean, I don't even think it's really even faster if you took the stairs. Like it's not like we were waiting, behind a bunch of people, but the escalator only moves so
certain speed.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went up there. The kids were getting a little hungry. So they excuse me. We got a lard lad big pink donut. It was so big, Steph. It was literally the size of Deacon's head.
Yeah.
We cut it into 3 chunks. Each chunk we got was probably a donut and a half worth of donuts
Hmm.
still. Um, so good. Oh my God. The kids could not stop talking about this donut. They wanted to get another one the whole rest of the day. And like, they were just like, oh, remember that donut? It was so good. So, if you ever go, Steph, you got
I
to get
guess I gotta get this donut.
yeah, it's huge though. Like,
I mean, I have had my fair share of large donuts. The first time I went to Voodoo Donut in Portland with Peggy, I got myself a peach fritter. That same thing was bigger than my head, and I ate part of it the night of because like Voodoo Donuts open super super late, so we got it after going to the bar. I
right.
ate some of it and then put the rest away and figured I would eat it the next day. And I was pleasantly surprised when I opened the bag and found like a normal, like giant sized donut left because
Yeah.
it was so big to start. So I can only imagine it'd be similar.
Yes, it was definitely huge. But so it was great because then everyone got a piece of it. We walked over to Pets Off Leash. So this is one of the newer rides that they have. So we walked over there. There's like a silly fun land area that's over there. With like the Minions area. It was all closed also for refurb. There was like one ride, but it was like one of those twirly rides. We probably weren't
Yeah.
going to do it anyways, but so we did Pets Off Leash. It was really cute. It's more of like I would say like what you would expect of like a Disney ride. It's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
animatronics. It's super well themed. Like even the kids, we were walking through obviously the standby line. It was
Sure.
literal walk on.
Yeah.
But they were even saying like how cool the theming was in the queue. So like, they
That's
even
cool.
noticed that. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was really well done. Like every room that you walked through, like one of them, it was like there was kind of furniture set up because it was in like a living room. So, but
Hmm.
the queue was like done in such a way that you kind of walked around the furniture. Anyways, it was really neat, like how they sort of made it um like you were in a room, but then there was still an obvious line that you followed to
Yep.
get to the ride. A lot of people were like just standing in the standby queue, like taking pictures in
Oh, I could
different
see that.
spots.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
we
then
just
that's
like,
probably why they do it that way too. So,
oh yeah, 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 for sure. So we did that. Minions is right next door. Oh, kids liked Pets Off Leash. It was cute. The Minions was right next door, which we were planning to do as part of the touring strategy. Well, it didn't open until 11. I was like, what?
oh,
So we were too early. So I was like, well, I guess we'll have to double back, whatever. So then again, nothing has a long wait. Everything is still
hmm,
like super low wait. So I said, okay, why don't we go to the Harry Potter section?
sure.
Because Deacon wanted to do the Forbidden Journey. And
Hmm.
Cooper and I were like, well, Cooper wanted to get a butterbeer. So we wandered over there around 10:30. Cooper got a butterbeer. So we have recently determined he's lactose intolerant.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. He's had a lot of stomach pains. I'm like, buddy, it might be lactose. And we cut that out of his diet and now he's doing a lot better. So when we're lining up for the butterbeer, I'm like, bud, like it might have lactose in it. Like, I don't know, right? Like ice
Hmm?
cream or something like that. So we asked the guy, and it turns out it doesn't. The only lactose or the only dairy it has is that they use whey protein in the foam.
Oh, but that's not really dairy. Like,
No, that's what I said. I was like, I use whey protein in my smoothies and it never bothers me. So I'm like, you're probably fine. But I was like, well, that's random. But I guess because it's kind of, I think it's like, it's really just like sugar, I guess.
yeah. Yeah.
So, anyways, so he was able to get his butter beer and not, you know, feel terrible the rest of the day. So, got his butter beer at 10:40. I walked Deacon. Well, all three of us walked in to Forbidden Journey. Oh, actually, no. Cooper waited outside because he had his butter beer. So I walked Deacon through, like, because you can go through the queue. So he went single
Hmm.
rider. It was literally a walk on. Like, I think the wait time was like 5 minutes.
There you go.
And I told Cooper if he wanted, he could go ride Flight of the Hippogriff. Because again, it was also a 5 minute wait. So I walked Deacon through the line and I said, okay, just like meet us over by Flight of the Hippogriff when you're done. So then I go over, I join Cooper. Cooper had ridden once, and
Hmm.
then I walk out, and then him and I rode it again. And then Deacon walked out, and then the three of us rode it again because it was a walk on like every time. You waited like 3, 4 minutes, whatever. And you can see people going through the skip the line, right? Like they had bought the
Yeah.
express pass. And all I could think is, what a waste of money that express pass would have been today. Like
No kidding.
nothing had a long wait. So this was a Wednesday in November. That is the
Yeah.
time
That
to
was,
go to
I
Universal.
was going to say, this is when you go to Universal Studios in November, middle of the week.
Not Thanksgiving week, because I imagine
No.
that was a lot busier.
Yes. So last
Um,
week. Don't go
yes.
last week.
Yeah, don't go last week. So yeah, so great. We rode those. So then I really wanted to do the studio tour. As part of the early entry, if you went to the studio tour before 11, you could go through the express pass line. We got to the studio tour at 11:10. So like
Hmm.
technically we couldn't go through the express pass line anymore. It was a 5 minute wait. Like,
Sure.
again, there was no wait. We just like we showed up and they were loading people onto a tram.
Hmm.
Um, we got on, we got our choice of seats, like, we just had, like, a whole row to ourselves. It was great. Um, the studio tour is a super cool experience. So it's a tour of the actual studio, and they point out, like, "Oh, this sound stage is where this is happening." They take you through, like, outdoor sets. So, if
Hmm.
you ever watched The Good Place, So they
Yep.
have the outdoor set of The Good Place
Oh, cool.
was filmed there, so they drive you through it, so it's like you're driving through, like, the little
Yeah.
town of The Good
Yep.
Place. Yeah, and there was a couple other movies that same thing, like, they're like, "Oh, you remember this scene in this movie? Oh, that was shot here," and it's cool, like, how they tell you, like, all the different things that have been shot in, like, basically the
Hmm.
same location, and they
Yeah.
just
See, and it's cool because so when I went as a tiny child, when I was 8 to the Universal Studios, we did the studios tour then, but I didn't know a lot of the movies then, except because it was like the big stuff like Jaws
yeah.
and the Ten Commandments. So they showed us like different parts of that. Like they showed how they did parting of the Red Sea, and it was really like this really small scale thing that they parted, and then the tram drove through. So like
Oh,
stuff like
yeah,
that was kind of cool.
yeah.
And then scenes when like Jaws popped out at you. But that's what I remember doing the backdraft, driving through the backdraft scenery, like where that they made everything
Uh,
like come alive with like fire and stuff, and being terrified of that. But yeah, so seeing stuff now with all this movie knowledge that I've accumulated over the last 30 plus years since going, it would be so much better.
yeah, and so the guy that we had a tour guide on the whole thing, and the whole time he's telling you stuff, but then sparse throughout the real tour is they'll be like, "Oh, let's go into this sound stage and see what's happening." Oh, and then it turns out it's like kind of like an attraction, so it's like they still do the Jaws thing where
Hmm.
they lock the tram in and then the shark goes past you, or there's another one where it's like you go into like a subway station
Yep.
and it locks you, and then it's like earthquake and there's like fire and then like all this water starts gushing out, and Deacon like got up and moved in our tram car because he was like on the side where all the water was rushing. He thought he was going to get soaked, which you didn't. It wasn't like you didn't have to really worry. You also went into like a soundstage and it was King Kong. So in
Cool.
Florida, King Kong is its own ride, and that is exactly the ride. They take you in, and then it's a whole bunch of screens on both
Hmm.
sides, and it's this like battle of King Kong against like three different like T-Rexes, and it's like happening all around you, and then like the tram is like on a you know motion pad or whatever, so it jostles you around a bit, but like you don't have seatbelts or anything. It's not like big motion sickness or anything like that, but like that was just part of this tour, which is like a whole separate ride in Florida. So anyways, the kids loved it. It was like 5 rides in one. It took an hour, so like it's a long experience, so it's like pretty worth it.
Yeah.
um Anyways, everyone decided that was great. So we get back. The kids wanted to eat. So we just ended up going to Cooper wanted to go to Krusty Burger in Simpsons Land. So we went to Krusty Burger. We were gonna mobile order, but honestly, there just wasn't that many people there that I was like, by the time we were figuring out how to mobile order, we were at the front of the line.
Already
So
there. Yeah.
we just ordered. Deacon wanted to do the Simpsons ride, and I was like,
Hmm.
absolutely not. It is the most nauseating ride I've ever been on in my life.
I
So
mean,
I'm
this
like,
sounds like the couch ride at Legoland. Anyways,
oh,
continue.
yeah. So anyway, so it said it was a posted 20-minute wait. So I said, okay, well, we're going to be here in Krusty Burger if you want to go ride it. This is the other thing about having older kids is that I could just be like, if you want to go and ride it. So anyways, he
Go
went.
ahead.
He went and rode it. He said basically he just like walked onto it, because so we ordered our food, got our food, went and sat. He met us before we were even done eating. Like we weren't even like waiting for him, and he came up and then he ate his food. The food was it was all right. Like it
I mean,
was
it's
like
Krusty
kind of
Burger.
it was kind of crappy burger and fries. So nothing to write home about. I wouldn't necessarily say like it's a must do. Get the donut, skip the burgers.
Just
My
okay.
recommendation. So then we ate. At 12:45, we went over to the Despicable Me Minions Mayhem ride. It was a posted 15-minute wait. It was a literal walk on. We just walked
Mm.
right into the first pre-show, and then you have the different pre-shows, and the kids liked it. It's cute. It's silly.
I mean, if you like Minions, you probably love it.
It's like you just
So
kind of like sit in a seat, and it's like a screen, and it jostles you
sure.
around a bit, whatever. I just looked away at certain scenes. If you were like really like plummeting down something, I just sort of look
Mm.
away so I wouldn't get motion sick, but otherwise it was fine. And then at 1:15, we went and saw the Kung Fu Panda show, which is just you go, it's in a theater, and then it's like a big screen, and then there's like a lot of effects that happen, and I think it's like 4D because you get wet, like 3D plus
Mm.
water, so it's 4D.
Yep.
And yeah, everyone liked that. That was cute. you know, if it wasn't a super hot day, that's the other thing. The weather was really nice. I think it was like 25 Celsius.
I mean, that's California.
It was just
That
like
that's what
perfect
that
weather
was
to walk
what I was
around.
hoping for for when we went instead of baking to death
Oh my God, I
at
know. Yeah,
Disney.
no, this would have been much nicer weather to run
Yes,
a half marathon in. So we did that. Then we stopped and got these drinks at the Power Up Cafe. So they were like, it was basically like pop. And then they came with this, I don't know, like it was so gimmicky, but it came with this like power up cube, I guess, that you popped into it and then it like would fizz and change
sure.
color and whatever. They were $13 US, Steph. It was not, oh, and they had boba bubbles at the
Of
bottom, like of
course,
different
yeah.
flavors. It was not worth the amount that we paid for these things. Like they were fun and kitschy and whatever. The kids wanted to try them, so we got them, but also not on a must-do list, let me tell you.
Hmm.
They were very expensive for what you got. We went to the 145 Water World show. We arrived like 15 minutes before, which was like way more than enough time. Again, if I haven't mentioned it, this park was not busy. Like it was not busy at all. Um, it was hilarious, of course, because they like people get soaked. People who sit in the blue seats get soaked. It's it's just really entertaining for people not in the blue seats, which was us.
Hmm.
Um, and then the show was good. We had seen it in Japan in Japanese, so it was fun to
See it in
understand what they were
English?
saying.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's my kids loved it. It was entertaining, you know, you get to sit and just watch it. So that was great. Liked that. The kids wanted to now go back to, so now we've like done everything stuff. Like
Okay. And
literally
it's like
it's
2:30.
2:15.
Okay.
So we've done, Deacon has done every single ride in this park that is open except the mummy ride. Every single ride
Hmm.
except the mummy ride.
So we could have completed a challenge in Universal, as we discussed on the last episode, if it was doable.
100%.
Now we know, 100% doable.
100%. 100% doable.
I guess the more realistic challenge would be to do the rides more than once each.
Yeah. So the kids wanted to go back because they wanted to play in Super Nintendo World. We'd basically done
Yep.
everything. So I'm like, sure. We head back down all the escalators. We get down there and the Bowser's or the Bowser's Challenge ride, like the Mario Kart ride, is a posted 20-minute wait. I'm like, hey guys. So it's 2:30 in the afternoon, Steph, and it's a 20-minute wait for like the newest
Mm.
ride at this park. Hey guys, you want to go ride that again? Sure. 12 minutes. It took us 12 minutes to get on this ride. And it was mostly like just walking through this giant
Yeah,
queue that they have set up, which is
sure.
a really cool queue. They have like a lot of stuff to look at. And so it's really
Yeah.
interesting to walk through. Anyway, so we did that again. They played more games. And at this point, I've started to check the traffic stuff because we need to drive to Anaheim. And I'm
Hmm.
already nervous because our original plan was to stay at the park till about 6 and then head out. And I'm like, that's going to be disaster because that's about the same time we left the airport the night before and it was a disaster.
Disaster.
So I'm like, hey guys, what if we're done? And
Eh,
like Deacon is like, I kind of want to play more games. I'm like, I get it, but like also we still have to drive all the way to Anaheim and it's with no traffic, it's about a 45-minute drive.
sure.
So I was like, we can get in there and then we'll get dinner and, get settled and whatever. And they have a pool and maybe we'll go to the pool, whatever. So, okay, fine. We decide. So about 3:15, we decide to leave the park. And we walk back to our hotel and we get the rental car and we head out. Disaster stuff. Oh my God. So this 40 to 45-minute drive, do you want to guess how long it took us to get to the other
Oh,
hotel?
2 hours.
2 hours and 15 minutes it took us,
Oh
Steph.
my.
Yep.
Oh, and you're
And
losing your mind in LA traffic.
losing my mind. And then the other problem was like, thankfully, Cooper, he did an amazing job. But I'm trying to drive a car I'm not used to in a city
Sure,
I don't know. And I have to try and navigate. And sometimes it's like, how it'll be like, okay, turn left. Oh, and by the way, now it's an immediate right. But I didn't know that, like, I didn't know where the
sure.
next turn was because I'm just
Yeah,
like,
and then
whatever.
trying to be in the right lane of everything and yeah,
So, like, at one point, Cooper, like, helped and took over navigating for me because at one point I'm driving on the highway and it's telling me to exit. And as I'm exiting, it says, if you stayed on the highway, it's 5 minutes faster.
Hmm.
Hi, Google Maps. Yes, I would have liked it to be 5 minutes faster. So I'm not sure why you like it, just things like that that were getting so frustrating. So he took over, which was great because at one point, same thing. It popped up and said something was like 8 minutes faster to go a different way. And he's like, oh, okay, mom, now you have to turn this way. And like, oh my God, it was, yeah. So,
Disaster.
I mean, so the traffic sucked. And if I had to do it again, I 100% would have just stayed at the Universal Hotel that night as well. And
Hmm.
because the next day was a break day for us, and we were just gonna go watch Dan play his games. He didn't even play a game until 11. Like, we could have just, like, chilled at the
Yeah,
hotel,
stayed at
gone
the
to the
hotel.
pool, whatever. And the only reason I didn't I mean, one reason was because it was a little bit cheaper to stay at the Anaheim
Sure.
hotel, and the other reason was just I think I was thinking like, well, this way we don't have a hotel room while we're at the park, so who cares, right? As opposed to checking out at 11 and then not having a hotel room till like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. But
Hmm.
in hindsight, I would have just stayed. And then then we could have just hung out at the park. The kids could have ridden rides again, and
They could
I
have
wouldn't have
played
felt so
games
stressed.
forever, Super
Oh my God.
Mario World, and have been so
Deacon
happy.
would have stayed there for hours. Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
and we didn't end up going to the Toadstool Cafe because I
Yeah.
decided we would just head out. So, anyways, all in all, not an ideal. And then so we get to the hotel, we check in, which is fine, no issues there. There's a Blaze Pizza that's like right like not in
Hmm.
the hotel, but like right in the same building complex. So I'm like, let's just walk over there. It had some pretty decent reviews. It was so disappointing. The service was awful. Like we were
Oh.
standing there and there's people like making pizzas and stuff and nobody's help. And so at one point I'm like, excuse me, like, do we order here? And she's like, yeah, we're just a little busy at the moment. And just like kept
Oh.
making pizzas. I was like, okay, well, you could say something. Like, I'm
Sure.
standing here, like, waiting and not sure, like, no one would like make eye contact with you. And then, and then they make your pizzas. And of course, it takes a while because they have to like wood fire your pizzas. And then the pizzas weren't very good. And anyway, so it was. It was not inexpensive. The service was not great. And, maybe we just hit it at a bad time. But even the pizza itself, the kids, none of us loved. So
Well,
but that's it. That was our universal day. So takeaways, go on a Wednesday in the middle of November. You don't need the express pass. Everything is a walk on. But the kids had a
and then
great time. They loved it.
stay at the hotel on both ends if you can.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Use your rest day as like your travel day and just make it nice and easy. So anyways, and I guess that'll wrap it up for this episode and just tune in next time for what happened at Disneyland. So until
So,
next
on
time, Steph.
Toodle